Tonight, the horizon holds something waiting for you. Not a message, not a sign, but a memory. One you haven't made yet. The sky is soft, indigo washed with breath. And lo, just above the rim of the world, something begins to rise. You sense it before you see it. The pressure in the air changes, like a held breath released. The strawberry moon is returning. And you are just in time. Before we drift into the dark with her, take a breath with me. A quiet one. If this moment stirs something inside you, if the moon has ever made you stop walking, stop speaking, stop scrolling, then leave behind a trace, a like, a comment, a tiny silver click to subscribe. Let us build a circle of watchers, silent and moon-bent, under one sky. Now, gaze eastward. The full moon of June is unlike any other. Tonight, she will rise at her lowest point in the sky, closer to the horizon than you've likely seen in nearly 20 years. A phenomenon that hasn't visited us since 2006. This low-hanging moon, as astronomers call it, brings an optical illusion. It appears enormous, tenderly bloated with light, and yet, no bigger than before. This is the magic of the limbic sky, bending both light and emotion. Ancient calendars marked this night not for its color, but for what it signaled. The ripening of the land, the turning of the inner season. Strawberries, wild and sacred, were gathered by moonlight. No artificial glow, no distraction, just starlight. And the curve of the moon. What does it mean to you? To look up at something so old, so constant, so quietly patient? The answer isn't in books, it isn't in data, it's in the hush behind your ribcage, the space that widens when you meet her gaze. She isn't pink tonight, not truly, but there's a warmth in her light that blushes the leaves, kisses the stones, and softens the shadows. It's said the strawberry moon is the moon of opening, not in bloom, but in ripeness, a spiritual fullness. You may have planted dreams, months ago, or whispered intentions under cold skies. Tonight, the moon offers no judgment, only this gentle inquiry. Have you ripened too? You step outside. The air has weight to it, not oppressive but sacred. Stillness that feels designed. Streetlights seem to blink slower. Trees lean in with listening bark. Somewhere a bird sings once, then falls silent. You tilt your head, and she is there. Low, luminous, laced in a pale flame that doesn't burn. The strawberry moon, not dipped in fruit, but in metaphor. Her color is memory. Her pull is emotion. Her presence is awakening. This is not a moon for action. This is a moon for noticing, for sitting beside a window and letting the light fall on your collarbone, for listening to the heartbeat that isn't yours, for remembering that even in stillness, everything moves. Science will tell you this moon's low arc is due to the tilt of the Earth. Because the moon's path lies close to the ecliptic, the sun's journey through the sky. And because the sun is so high in June, the full moon must rise at its lowest. It is celestial balance, perfectly timed, but there is no measurement for wonder. No telescope reveals what happens within you when you see her. You may have heard this moon called rose moon, hot moon, or honeymoon. And yes, June's full moon has long been a season of warmth, weddings, and whispered promises. But underneath all names, she is this. The first moon that feels like enough. Neither longing like spring, nor shedding like autumn. She just is. And so are you. You walk further now into the hush. Lights behind you dim, sounds recede, and she, the moon, grows brighter. Not in the sky, but in your mind. You feel her not just in your eyes, but under your skin. A tide you can't explain. A softness you forgot was yours. This is what she does. Not shine, but illuminate. And so you listen. To science. To symbol. To soul. Because the strawberry moon, what it really means spiritually, is this. You are not alone in your ripening. Now, let us begin tonight's story. You hear the name again in your mind, Strawberry Moon, and realize how little it has to do with color. There's no crimson glow in the sky, no splash of juice across the horizon. And yet, The word feels sweet on your tongue. Ripened. Familiar. Like a memory handed down from ancestors who once read the seasons by scent and light, not screens and calendars. This moon, the full moon of June, is called strawberry, not because it appears red, but because it arrives in the season when wild strawberries ripen across the northern hemisphere. The Algonquin peoples, among others, named it so. Not as poetry, but as timing. This was the moon that told them the earth was ready to offer fruit, not planted crops, but what grows freely, what needs no tilling to thrive. There is power in that simplicity. You begin to sense it. In the air, in the earth beneath your feet, in the stillness of this particular night. Science confirms the moon tonight is not unusually red. Any blush you see, if the atmosphere allows it, is the result of light scattering, of particles bending color at the edge of the Earth's shadow. But you are not looking for science alone. You're listening for something else. The way names linger. For the Algonquin, the strawberry moon was a sign. Time to gather, time to preserve, time to come together in joy. Other tribes marked it differently. The Haida called it the berries ripen moon, the Tlingit, birth moon, the Sioux, moon when the hot weather begins. Every name is a different door to the same cycle, and each carries the same message. This is a time of emergence, and perhaps, so are you. You've passed through the cold moons of winter, the pale moons of waiting, the wet moons of growth. This one is not for sowing. This is the moon for tasting what has grown, for touching the sweetness of your own survival. You reach toward it with your gaze, and feel it reach back. Do you notice how in these ancient names there is no mention of ambition? No striving, no hunger to become something greater. Only the recognition of what already is. That is the gift of this moon. It does not call you to change. It calls you to witness, to observe what has ripened in you without force, without noise, without expectation. The soft parts of yourself you've kept hidden. The dreams you didn't even know were blooming. The heartache that, when viewed under this light, feels almost beautiful. You step a little closer to the open field. The air is thick with the scent of something warm. Not strawberries, perhaps, but the idea of them. Memory fruit. Your skin drinks in the moonlight, and in some small corner of your chest, the ache of longing quiets. Ancient traditions marked the strawberry moon not with words, but with action. Women would leave bowls of water out overnight to capture the moon's blessing. Children would sleep outside, told that dreams born under the strawberry moon would be carried to the spirits. In Eastern European lore, this was a night for whispering love spells. In Celtic forests, the moon was called mead moon, and lovers toasted it with honeyed wine. Every culture, every name, pointing to one thing: fullness. And still, here you are, staring upward, asking what you're supposed to feel. The answer is simpler than you expect. You are supposed to feel present, because the strawberry moon doesn't demand that you grow, or grieve, or even heal. It only asks that you recognize your own ripeness, the places in you that have become soft, sweet, and ready for what? Only you know that. But the moon will hold the question for you. She always does. You think of time again, of how fast everything moves when you aren't watching, and how tonight, for just this one breath in the wheel of the year, the world feels paused. Not because the moon is different, but because you are finally looking with the eyes of someone who remembers that not all harvests are external. Looking with the soul of someone who understands that sometimes it is enough simply to name what is good. There is no ritual more sacred than attention. So stay here, in this soft place, in this quiet. Let the light of the strawberry moon reveal you, not to the world, but to yourself. The earth turns slowly under her gaze, and still she watches, and still you listen. The moon sits low tonight, unnervingly low, as if she's forgotten how to rise higher, or perhaps decided not to. She hugs the horizon like a secret, her curve slightly distorted, her light softened by the breath of Earth's atmosphere. You, Stare, and for a moment, you wonder if she's somehow larger than usual. Enormous even. A swollen pearl pressing against the edge of the sky. She's not. Astronomers call this illusion the moon illusion, a psychological trick of perspective. When the moon is close to the horizon, your brain compares it to trees, rooftops, and hills, and concludes she must be enormous. But when she rises higher, detached from Earth's frame, she appears smaller. Though in truth, she hasn't changed at all. It's not her that shifts. It's your perception. This is where science and spirit intertwine. You think of the ways you've misjudged your own life, your own emotions. How often the things closest to you felt the most overwhelming, the most colossal. Just like the moon tonight. But maybe, like her, those things weren't bigger. They were simply closer, and closeness makes the heart tremble in ways that truth alone cannot explain. This year's strawberry moon is the lowest full moon since 2006. An orbital accident, some might say. But you know better. Nothing the moon does is an accident. Her low arc is due to the tilt of Earth and the moon's position on the ecliptic. In June, the sun rides high in the sky. So, in perfect celestial symmetry, the full moon of June must rise low, grazing the southern horizon like a sigh. You watch her linger there, a ghost lantern floating behind distant rooftops. Her light slips through windows, across sleeping faces, and into the deepest corners of closed hearts. She is not rising up tonight. She is coming near. Near enough to sit beside you, to rest, her silver weight on your shoulder and say nothing. Just breathe. There's something intimate about a moon that stays low, as if she's not shining for the world, but for the few who notice. For you. You remember now what the ancients said about low moons, that they were omens, that they meant the sky had bent close to whisper something. In parts of Eastern Europe, a low-hanging moon was seen as a listening moon, a time to speak truths aloud to the night, knowing she would carry them into the darkness without judgment. And so beneath this unusually low moon, you consider your own truths. What have you kept hidden? What has grown so large in your mind that it no longer fits in your chest? This moon invites confession, not in words, but in presence. You needn't speak. You need only sit in her gravity. She knows how to hold what is heavy. In Japan, poets once wrote that the moon could lower herself to walk among the tea leaves. They imagined her not as a distant orb, but a companion, silent, soft-footed, weaving between the living. On nights like this, with the moon so near the horizon, you finally understand what they meant. She walks among you now. Her nearness presses on the trees. Even the leaves seem to bend in her direction. You exhale, slowly, and in that breath, you feel what so many have felt beneath this moon for thousands of years. The sensation of being held, not by another person, but by the very structure of the cosmos. You are no longer suspended in the universe. You are supported by it. The strawberry moon, hanging low, almost touchable, becomes a balm. She tells you, you don't need to reach higher. You only need to be closer. In a world that asks you to rise, climb, succeed, tonight the moon invites you to settle, to let your light stretch sideways, to meet yourself not at the peak, but at the root. This is not a night for ascending. It is a night for deepening. So let her light pool around your ankles. Let it soak into the soles of your feet. Let the illusion of enormity remind you of your own mind's power, not to distort, but to reveal. Because even illusions have something to teach, especially those born in the quiet space between light and longing. The horizon curves gently beneath her, and you sit still. Moonlight brushing your face, illusion or not, she is near, and that, for tonight, is everything. The light shifts, not brighter, not dimmer, but older. That's how it feels. As if the moon's glow tonight carries the dust of rituals once whispered beside flame. You sense her not just above you, but behind you, stretching across centuries, through bone memory, across a tapestry of belief too wide to name. You are not the first to feel this. Others have walked barefoot under this moon. Others have stood in fields, eyes upturned, and felt the strange pull between earth and sky. The strawberry moon, though named for berries and harvests, has always marked something more than ripening fruit. It is the time of rites, of offerings and intentions, of marking the edge between the seen and the unseen. The Algonquin tribes honored this moon by gathering the first fruits of summer, not in greed, but in gratitude. A portion was always returned to the earth, left in open fields or near water, as a way of saying thank you to the land that gave it. To take without giving back was to unbalance the cycle. You wonder now. When was the last time you gave back to the source of your own abundance? In medieval Europe, the full moon of June became woven into solstice rituals. Bonfires were lit not to celebrate heat, but to purify, to burn away what no longer served. This moon, always arriving near the longest day of the year, became a liminal moon, caught between the light of solstice and the emotional tide of summer, a gateway, a threshold, a time to speak wishes aloud to the sky, and to trust that the moon would carry them where they needed to go. You kneel now, not because you must, but because the moment calls for stillness, for reverence. The moonlight glows on your hands like ancient ink. You think of a woman in Wales, centuries ago, who stepped into the forest under the June moon and whispered her fear to the trees. You think of a young boy in a Mongolian valley, offering his first bowl of mare's milk to the moon. You think of the healer in Peru who placed herbs under the moonlight to bless them before they were used. These are not stories. These are echoes. And, now, you are part of them. The moon becomes a witness, a participant in your solitude. You look up, and she is watching. Still, silent, entire. Astronomically, the moon reflects sunlight, nothing more. Her surface is dust, pockmarked by time, untouched by weather or war. But spiritually, she becomes a mirror, a reflector not just of light, but of self. She shows you what the sun never can, the interior. That is why rituals are done by moonlight. Not because the moon is magical, but because you are, when you're with her. Her light reveals the inner landscape, not the sharp features of ego, but the soft folds of longing. She turns your attention inward, toward the quiet altar inside your own chest. Tonight, you build a ritual, one that belongs only to you, not one from books, not one borrowed from strangers, one born in the silence of this moment. Perhaps you place something in the earth, perhaps you write a word in the air, perhaps you say the name of someone you miss, or someone you've never met. Whatever it is, the moon receives it, not with noise, but with gravity. She pulls at your bones just as she pulls at oceans, and though your body may not feel the tide, your spirit does. This is the mystery that science accepts but cannot explain. How celestial movement evokes emotional movement. How something 384,400 kilometers away can make you feel so profoundly close to yourself. The rites continue, not with fire, but with breath. Not with drums, but with heartbeat. You are part of a long lineage now, of moon watchers, sky listeners, those who believe that the space between stars is not empty but pregnant with meaning. Above you, the moon shifts slightly, not enough to see but enough to feel. A passage of minutes, a movement of tide, a turn of breath. In Norse mythology, the moon is chased by a wolf named Hati. It is said that when Hati catches her, the world ends. But each night he fails, and the moon survives. This, too, is ritual. The practice of being hunted by darkness, and choosing still to glow. You have been hunted by many things, and still you are here. Still, you glow. You do not need to believe in myths to believe in meaning. This moon, this low, glowing, strawberry-sweet orb, is telling you something. Without words, the old ways were not old. They were timeless. And tonight, beneath her eye, you remember that. Not with your mind, but with your body. You feel it in the breath between footsteps, in the warmth of light on your skin, in the sense that someone, somewhere, is watching this same moon. and whispering the same prayer, a prayer made not of words, but of presence. There is a tug now, low and slow, as if something inside you has started to drift toward her. The moon, rising sideways in her luminous hush. It isn't imagination. It isn't poetry. It's physics. The moon doesn't just affect the sea. She affects you. Each time she grows full, her gravity reaches deeper. Not only do the oceans respond, your body does too. You are made of water, and something within you shifts in rhythm with her. Your breath thickens, your heart quiets. Your blood, like tide, becomes heavy with remembering. The ancients noticed this before there were equations. Fishermen knew when to set their nets. Farmers knew when sap would rise in trees. Women knew when their cycles aligned with hers, and when they broke away. Even now, hospitals prepare for an increase in births during full moons. Animals change their sleeping patterns. Trees adjust their chemistry. Nothing is untouched. Tonight, under the strawberry moon, the pull is subtle, but you feel it. You feel it in your bones, in your skin, in the way your shoulders relax without command. This moon governs water, and water governs feeling. So what rises in you now is not thought. It is emotion, and not loud emotion either. Not the tidal wave, not the storm. This is the emotion that lingers at the edge of silence, the ones you usually push aside to survive the noise of the world. Under this moon, they return. Not to overwhelm you, but to remind you. They are part of your tide. You sit near a quiet pool now, or perhaps your reflection glimmers in a window pane. Either way, moonlight meets water, and something ancient stirs. In Hindu tradition, the moon is connected to the mind, while the sun represents the soul. Too much sunlight burns clarity into ash. But the moon reflects. It cools. It shows the shape of things softly. You think now of the inner waters, the ones you don't show, the ones that rise in dreams, in long-forgotten songs, in memories, that appear without warning when a scent brushes your path. This moon wants nothing from you but acknowledgement. You are water, and water is memory. Science tells us that water holds patterns, that it absorbs vibration, that every molecule responds to the energy around it. So what are you absorbing tonight? You step out of the light for a moment, into the shadow, just enough to let the coolness hold you. And there, in the quiet, you feel it again, that pull. It's not the ocean this time, it's the lake of your own feeling, still on the surface but deep beneath. The moon does not create the tide, she simply calls it forward, and so do you. You remember now the Celtic image of the moon as a silver cauldron, a sacred well of transformation. Emotions were poured into it. Moonlight stirred them. And when the ritual was complete, the one who drank from it was changed, not into someone new, but into someone true. That's what this night feels like. Not like becoming, but like returning. You dip your hands into the imagined pool, real or remembered, and let the chill climb your skin. The moonlight scatters over the ripples. You are not asking questions now. You are listening with your body. What have you denied yourself feeling? What grief, what joy, what hope? You let the questions float, not to be answered, only to rise. This is your lunar baptism, not into someone holy, but into someone whole. You remember again what the strawberry means. Not just sweetness, but ephemerality. Wild strawberries don't last long. Their season is short. Their fruit, small. You must gather them with care, or they are gone. So it is with this moonlight. So it is with this moment. Do not try to keep it. Do not try to name it. Just feel it. Let it flood you. Let it pull the waters of your soul into motion, and as you do, the moon rises a little higher, only a little, but enough to change your reflection. You are not who you were an hour ago. That is her gift. The moonlight turns golden, almost imperceptibly. Not in color, but in feeling. The kind of warmth that comes not from temperature, but from memory. You don't know why, but your chest aches a little now. The way it does when someone you love walks into the room after a long absence. This moon carries many names. Tonight, she is the strawberry moon. But in old European lore, she was also the honey moon. And suddenly, something clicks. You've heard that phrase before. In weddings, in poems, in stories of love and longing. The honeymoon. A tradition born from this very sky. A belief that the June full moon, ripe and golden and low, was the most auspicious time to marry, because love, like fruit, is best when picked at its peak. You look up again. She hangs there, not in the heavens, but in the heart. The low arc, the amber halo, the hush of night. It all feels like a benediction, and you realize, this moon is not only about ripening, it's about gathering what has ripened, and holding it close, even if only for a moment. In the Middle Ages, newlyweds were given honey mead for a full moon cycle after marriage, to bring sweetness, to stir passion, to soften what life would inevitably harden. It wasn't about celebration. It was about fortification. This moon has always carried the twin flavors of sweetness and sorrow, because to taste joy is to acknowledge its fleetingness, and to love deeply is to accept the risk of loss. She knows. The moon has seen centuries of hands reaching out, lovers parting, letters burned in secret, promises whispered into the folds of night. Her light has touched wedding veils and funeral cloths alike. She holds no preference, only presence. Tonight, her light lays gently over your memories, even the ones you didn't invite. You think of someone now. Maybe they're still here. Maybe they've gone. Maybe they never knew what they meant to you, or maybe they did. The moon doesn't ask you to explain. She only asks you to feel, and so you do. You feel the ache behind the sweetness, the longing behind the light, the softness behind the sorrow. It's all there, a kind of emotional honey stirred. In silence. In Filipino tradition, the moon is a place where lovers meet after death. In dreams, in memory, in the moment between waking and sleep. You wonder just briefly if the person you're thinking of is also looking at the moon right now. If some part of them is reaching back. You don't need an answer, because the feeling is enough. Because this is the magic of the strawberry moon. She connects what can't be connected, time to time, heart to heart, earth to sky, and maybe, just maybe, this is her spiritual message. That love, in all its forms, leaves behind light, even if it vanishes, even if it ends. The glow remains. You take a step forward on the grass, and the scent of summer rises up to greet you. A flower half closed. A patch of soil still warm. A breeze that brushes your skin with the gentleness of someone who once knew your name. And above, she watches, not judging, not explaining, just being. And that is the lesson. To be full. Like the moon is not to be without loss, it is to shine despite it. To love, even knowing you may lose. To feel, even when it hurts. To open, even when the world has taught you to close. You place your hand over your heart now. You don't say a word, but the moon hears it anyway. Whatever it is, whatever you needed to say, she will hold it for you. For one more night. Tonight, the moon drifts into the arms of Scorpio. You may not follow astrology, may not believe the stars write your fate. But you can't deny this. Something sharp and slow has entered the atmosphere. A hush, not unlike reverence or warning. You feel it behind the eyes, in the throat, in the breath that catches for no reason. This isn't a soft moon anymore. Not entirely. This is a moon with shadow beneath her light. Astronomers confirm the moon passes through each zodiac constellation as she circles Earth. Its geometry, gravity. And yet, when she enters Scorpio, people around the world feel it. Not because of superstition, but because Scorpio is the sign of depth, transformation, buried emotion. And under her low and swollen light, this strawberry moon in Scorpio becomes something more than beautiful. She becomes piercing. You look up, and suddenly, the light isn't just soothing, it's revealing. Not the surface you show the world, but the chambers beneath. Griefs you don't speak aloud, desires you pretend not to want, truths you buried for the sake of peace. Scorpio doesn't tolerate pretense, and neither does the moon tonight. You feel it rising now, like water in a sealed room. Not panic, not pain, just intensity, the kind you've trained yourself to ignore, but not here, not under this moon. In ancient Mesopotamia, moon phases were believed to open spiritual gates through which gods moved. When the full moon fell under Scorpio, the priests wrote of dreams sharpened like knives, of sacred thresholds only the brave dared cross. You are at one now, a moment where the moonlight turns inward, not toward the world, but toward the soul. She asks you questions you can't answer with words. What part of you have you refused to feel? What have you outgrown but still carry? What needs to be let go, so something truer can take its place? The Scorpio moon is not cruel. She is clear, and in her clarity you feel a strange peace, as if something in you has been waiting for this. Permission, not to heal, but to break open. You close your eyes. Behind the lids, images rise, some recent, some impossibly old. A mistake you never made right, a choice you regret, a path you didn't take, a person who hurt you, a person you hurt. Scorpio holds the sting, but she also holds the salve. To pass through her light is to look at the wound, not to reopen it, but to understand its shape. You breathe through it, no chanting, no ceremony, just you and the moon, and the part of yourself you thought you had to keep hidden. You open your eyes, and you are still here. The world has not ended, but something in you has shifted. You don't need to name it. Scorpio moons are not for definitions. They are for surrender. This is the part of the lunar journey where transformation begins, not with fireworks, but with the quiet act of allowing. You remember the stories now. In Egypt, Scorpio was linked to the goddess Serket, protector of the dead, midwife of rebirth. She governed the stings that killed and the poisons that cured. She knew both edges of every truth. So does the moon. And under her gaze, you realize something simple. There is no spiritual awakening without descent. There is no light without darkness to shape it. The strawberry moon, sweet, golden, glowing, now sharpens into a blade of emotional insight. Not to harm you, but to carve away what you no longer need. And what remains is raw. Real. Yours. You wrap your arms around yourself, now not out of fear but reverence, for what you've carried, for what you've released, for the courage it takes to be seen fully, first by the moon, then by yourself. She's rising still. But in Scorpio, she does not rise fast. She lingers, watching, blessing, burning away illusion, like mist before dawn. You whisper thanks, not with your lips, but with your breath, and Scorpio carries it, down, inward, deep, to the place where transformation waits. You move a little farther from the lights now, where the world falls quiet and the trees no longer cast harsh shadows. The strawberry moon still glows, but softer here, like light remembered, not light revealed. You step into the penumbra. Not full shadow, not full light, just the tender veil between. Astronomers speak of it with precision. The penumbra is the area where only a portion of the light is blocked. If this were an eclipse, you would see the moon dim, not disappear. A partial hush, a brushed edge. But you are not watching an eclipse tonight. You are entering a different kind of penumbra, the one that exists in the heart. You didn't know you needed this. The space where clarity blurs into mystery, where certainty dissolves into curiosity, where the world slows just enough for your soul to catch up. The strawberry moon, hanging low and golden, casts shadows that aren't sharp. They are feathered, gray-toned, alive. Your fingers stretch into the air, and the outline of your hand melts into the grass, then disappears entirely. You realize there is peace in not being fully seen. The full moon is not always about exposure. Sometimes, it's about reflection that doesn't blind. In Balinese tradition, this twilight space is sacred. Rituals are held not in bright light, but in the in-between. Shadowed temples. Candle flicker. A moment where the gods are closer, because everything is softened. It's said that spirits walk more freely through this space. Not the terrifying kind, but the quiet ones. Ancestors. Memory. Inner truth. You feel them now. Not ghosts, exactly, but presences. The parts of yourself you buried because they didn't belong in daylight. The dreams you dismissed as foolish. The soft beliefs you hardened because the world told you to be steel. Here, in the penumbra, they rise again, not to haunt, but to remind. You're still whole, even with the faded pieces, even with the soft edges, especially with them. The moon tonight glows like she knows this, and maybe she does. You watch her move slowly across the sky, not climbing, drifting, a sideways motion that feels like patience, like listening. The penumbra is not a place of answers, it's a place of permission. To not know, to not decide, to simply exist between. Science will tell you this is the weakest part of the moon's shadow, barely noticeable, almost nothing. But spiritually, it is everything. Because this is the place where transformation begins. Not with lightning, but with softness. You sit on the ground. The earth is warm. The breeze touches your cheek without asking who you are. You let go of needing to be certain. The penumbra asks nothing of you. No ambition, no clarity, only presence. You remember a Slavic folktale now, one you didn't know you remembered. About a child who got lost in the forest on the night of the strawberry moon. The moon sent down a piece of herself, a dim light that floated like mist. It didn't guide the child home. It stayed with them until they stopped being afraid. That's what this light feels like. Not guidance. Companionship. You're not being shown a way out. You're being kept company until you're ready to move. And maybe that's more powerful than direction. You exhale. Deep, slow. The kind of breath that comes only when you're not being watched, not being measured, only witnessed. The moonlight dims a little behind the branches. Not from clouds, but from angle. The earth shifts. The light bends, and you understand. Sometimes the most sacred space is not the center of the circle. It's the edge, the liminal, the almost. You rise gently, not because you're finished, but because the moment holds you differently now. There is more moon ahead, but you will carry this half-shadow with you. This gentle reminder that clarity isn't always the goal. Sometimes, mystery is enough. You glance upward again, half expecting the moon to be gone. But she remains, still low, still golden, still wide like a secret held too long. She has not disappeared. She's only shifted. And something inside you shifts too. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just a tilt, like the axis of the earth itself, small enough that you wouldn't notice, unless you were paying attention. The scientists call it axial tilt. Earth's 23.5-degree lean, responsible for our seasons, for the waxing and waning of warmth, for why the moon doesn't always rise in the same place or at the same height. Without this tilt, there would be no rhythm, no growth, no change. And yet, you've spent so much of your life trying to straighten yourself, to fix what leaned, to perfect what wobbled. But here, under this celestial dance, you understand. It is the tilt that makes life possible. The moon follows no straight path. Her orbit is elliptical, slightly off-center, imperfect. And still, she is whole. Still, she returns. Still, she illuminates everything in her reach. You think about all the ways you've demanded symmetry from yourself, emotional balance, logical consistency, spiritual clarity, as if your soul was a grid to be measured instead of a field to be wandered. But the moon teaches a different geometry. One of wandering ellipses, of off-center gravity, of beauty found in the spiral, not the line. And slowly, you begin to release the myth of the center. There is no true north in the sky, only perspective, only rotation, only endless motion anchored by unseen forces. In ancient China, this was understood through the philosophy of yin and yang, not as good versus bad, but as the dance between polarities. Light in darkness, darkness in light. The moon was considered a perfect yin symbol, cold, receptive, flowing. She ruled over change, over cycle, over the unseen. You are living proof of her influence. You've been trying to live in the sun, clarity, strength, structure. But the moon reminds you that there is power in fluidity, that a life well lived is one that moves through phases, not in spite of them but because of them. Above you, she glides eastward. The sky is darker now, but her light remains warm, and in your chest, something lets go, not like a scream, like an exhale. You don't need to understand everything. You don't need to fix the tilt. You are meant to move with it, to let yourself turn, to let your seasons change, to forgive yourself for shifting. You walk slowly through the quiet, every sound now amplified by the hush. Your footsteps on the grass, the wind sliding past leaves, the distant call of something nocturnal, singing because it can. The moon hears it all. She holds it all, including you. You look back one more time, not to measure her height, not to check her position, but simply to bear witness. And there she is, not smaller, not brighter, not more perfect, just there, exactly as she should be, like you, exactly as you are. You feel the tilt of your own life now, the events, the people, the choices that nudged you off course. And instead of trying to straighten them, you wonder what would happen if you let them become part of your orbit. Not mistakes, not failures, but gravitational pulls, bringing you here, to this moment, to this moon, to this breath. In the end, you are not a statue. You are a celestial body, and all celestial bodies wobble. All celestial bodies move through shadow and light, and all, in their own strange geometry, carry beauty that can't be measured. The strawberry, moon arcs behind the trees, and you, still tilting, still turning, continue forward. Somewhere, not far from you, a rooftop, a hillside, a balcony tucked between silence and sleep. Someone else is looking up. Maybe they know it's the strawberry moon. Maybe they don't. But their eyes have found her, just like yours, and in that moment, you are connected. Not by words, not by thought, but by presence. You can feel it now, a kind of invisible thread stretched across the dark, from you to them, from them to others. A vast constellation of breath and wonder, not a network of noise, like the ones you scroll through all day, but a soft-spoken geometry of shared silence. You aren't alone under this moon. You never were. There's a strange intimacy in knowing that millions, maybe billions, of people tonight see the same light, reflected from the same distant sun, arcing gently over the same tilted earth. Different languages, different beliefs, different stories, but the same gaze. Ancient civilizations believed the full moon allowed spirits to travel freely between the living and the dead. But perhaps the truer magic is that it allows feelings to travel, across walls, across oceans, across time zones. You don't need to know the name of the person watching the moon from across the world. You only need to know they're watching too. In that shared gaze, something happens. The world gets a little quieter. The fear gets a little smaller. The ache gets a little softer. Because you are reminded, in the most beautiful, celestial way, that you are not the only one who wonders, who waits, who carries sorrow like a shadow. You are not the only one with ripening inside. The moonlight is the great leveler. It falls equally on the rich and the poor, the broken and the bold, the searching and the certain. It illuminates not the surface, but the sacred equalness of being. There are no favorites under moonlight, only witnesses. You remember now a story, from West Africa, of women who, when their village suffered illness or conflict, would gather at night in the clearing and sing under the full moon. They didn't sing to be heard, they sang to be together. They believed the moon would carry their harmony across the land like a tide. Not to change anything, but to remind every soul it touched, you are still part of the song. What if this moment is your song? What if your quiet is your offering? What if your gaze is your way of saying, I'm still here? Not everyone around you may understand this moon watching. They might laugh, or scroll past, or sleep through it. But that doesn't diminish its power, because it is enough that you are looking, and someone, somewhere, is doing the same. It could be an old man on his porch in Montana, a child in Tokyo, eyes wide with curiosity, a woman in Cairo, whispering a name to the stars. They will never meet, but they are all part of this silent communion. You breathe deeply, the kind of breath that tastes like the edge of night, the kind that expands something inside you, and as you exhale, the feeling spreads, not out, but inward, a fullness, a quiet joy, the kind you can't explain to anyone else. Because the moon didn't say anything. She just was, and in being, she reminded you of your own belonging. You are not separate. You are not drifting. You are woven into this world, just like starlight, just like tide, and so are they, all of them, the lovers, the strangers, the seekers, the lonely, all of you, looking up at the same moon in the same moment. It's easy to feel disconnected in this life, but tonight proves otherwise. The connection doesn't always come in noise. Sometimes it comes in watching together, silently. So stay here a moment longer, not to learn, not to ask, but to feel the presence of others without needing to see them. That, too, is love. The moonlight touches your face, and somewhere, someone else is feeling it too. The moon still hovers near the horizon, bloated and low, her light steady like breath. And yet, she seems larger than before. You know, logically, that she hasn't changed size. The same moon that rose an hour ago remains. But somehow, near the rooftops and trees, she looks enormous, full of something unspoken. This is the lunar illusion. Astronomers have studied it for centuries. It's not a trick of optics, but of perception. When the moon is close to the horizon, your mind compares it to nearby objects, buildings, trees, the curve of the land, and interprets it as larger. But when she climbs higher into the open sky, with nothing to compare to, she shrinks again. Not in truth, in vision. You blink, knowing this. But still, she feels vast, and suddenly, the illusion feels like a message. How many times have you done this to your life? Made your problems seem insurmountable because they were close. Made your dreams feel small because they were far. Made yourself feel less simply because you had nothing nearby to reflect your worth? This moon doesn't just reveal light. She reveals the illusions we live inside, and the deepest one of all, that our inner world is fixed, measurable, contained. It isn't. It is shaped, endlessly, by context, by memory, by where you're standing when you look. You begin to wonder, what parts of your soul seem too big, only because you're standing too close? What griefs have felt unmanageable because you refuse to let time give them distance? What dreams have felt unreachable only because you've looked at them from the wrong angle? The moon's illusion invites you to soften your gaze, to let your understanding become rounder, to stop asking for clarity and start asking for perspective. There's an ancient Buddhist teaching. The moon's reflection in a still pond is perfect, but it is not the moon. It's a reminder that all perception is limited. What you see, even of yourself, is not the whole. But that does not make it false. It makes it incomplete. You sit quietly now, letting the illusion wash over you, not to be corrected, but to be honored. Because sometimes, illusions carry, meaning that facts cannot. You remember a story from the Inuit people, of a hunter who chased the moon across the tundra, believing it to be an animal that could grant wishes. When he finally reached her, she became a reflection in the ice, and whispered, "What you see is what you need, not what is. And maybe that's enough. What you see in the moon tonight, whether it's sorrow or sweetness, distance or closeness, is a reflection not of her size, but of your state. The moon is constant, But you are changing. You feel it in your chest now. A strange, quiet comfort. You don't need to correct the illusion. You don't need to dissect it. You only need to ask, what is this illusion trying to show me? You look again. And this time, she looks gentler. Not smaller. Just wiser. As if she's saying, it's all right to see more than is there. It means you're still feeling. This is what the moon teaches you tonight. That even in distortion, there is truth. That even in emotional illusion, fear, nostalgia, longing, there is something sacred. Something worth listening to. You close your eyes, and in the dark behind your lids, she glows just the same. Still vast, still golden, still yours. A breeze stirs the grasses at your feet, carrying with it the scent of crushed leaves and something older. Something sweet. Not sugar, not perfume. It smells like memory. You lean into it, and the moon above gleams like a silver spoon dipped in honey. This is the hour of ritual, of seeds and spells, of things once whispered between furrowed brows and firelight. In old Europe, the full moon of June was not just a time for harvest. It was a night when herbs were gathered beneath moonlight, believed to hold more power if cut when the moon was full. Midsummer rituals often took place beneath this very moon, honoring fertility, protection, and the long arc of the sun's journey. But the strawberry moon, with its softness, offered a different kind of magic. The kind not screamed or summoned, but invited. You kneel by a patch of wild ground now. Maybe there are real strawberries here. Maybe only the thought of them. Either way, you feel the pull to plant something. Not in soil, perhaps, but in spirit. A seed of intention. You remember the stories. Witches who pressed their hands to the ground, whispering dreams into seeds. Farmers who marked their planting cycles by moonlight alone. Women who made strawberry wine on this night and buried a vial in the earth, to be unearthed only when the heart called for love. None of it proven. All of it felt. You take a small object from your pocket. A leaf, a coin, a piece of thread, or maybe just your breath. And you offer it to the night. Not as a transaction, but as a gesture. Because under this moon, nothing blooms without tenderness. You whisper something. A name, a hope, a longing. Into the dark. You don't shout it. You don't explain it. The moon needs no details. Only the shape of your sincerity. In Slavic folklore, girls would braid wildflowers into their hair and cast them into moonlit rivers on nights like this, hoping the current would carry their hearts to someone waiting. In this soft tradition, nothing was forced. The moon, they believed, only blesses what is given gently. You sit back and look at what you've done. Perhaps nothing at all. And yet, you feel changed. Because ritual is not about effect, it's about presence. It's about becoming visible to yourself again, even just for a moment, and you are. The moon's light catches your face. You wonder how many before you have done this, planted something invisible and waited, not with expectation, but with wonder. You are not casting spells, you are casting possibility, and that is its own kind of power. A tradition from southern Italy tells of the luna di miele, the moon of honey, where dreams dreamt under the strawberry moon would ferment, ripen, and come true if left undisturbed. The trick was not to chase them, only to plant them, then wait. The world has trained you to push, to act, to manifest, but this moon teaches the opposite. It says, offer, then release. You do. You leave your offering, real or imagined, in the care of the grass, the night wind, the lunar tide, and for once, you ask for nothing back, not because you don't care, but because you trust. The moon does not interrogate your ritual. She receives it. She folds it into her light and scatters it across oceans, across deserts, across cities where someone else may wake tonight and feel hope rise for no reason. That's what this is. A web of soft rituals, unseen, unverified, but alive. The moon glows brighter now. Not because she's grown, but because you've become receptive. You've stopped questioning. You've started feeling. And under this moon, this ripe, round, ancient moon, even a whisper becomes sacred. Time begins to lose its shape. Minutes stretch like shadows. Hours dissolve like dew. You no longer know how long you've been under the moonlight, only that it feels like both a blink and a lifetime. There is a particular stillness now, as if the world itself has exhaled, as if the air has settled into a pause. Not a void, a sanctuary. Under this full moon, something in you slows, not from exhaustion, but from reverence. You begin to realize, this isn't just the moment when the moon is brightest. It's the moment when time itself softens, and that softening isn't just around you, it's within you. Your thoughts become slower, quieter. They no longer press against your mind like static. They drift like mist. Not gone, but no longer urgent. Even the questions that haunted you earlier tonight feel muted now, as if they've been laid down gently and left to rest. In ancient Vedic astronomy, the moon was known to govern manas, the mind. Not the intellect, but the emotional, instinctual, reactive mind. And when the moon became full, the mind was said to reach its most expansive state, vulnerable, absorbing, alive. You feel that now. Not clarity, but openness. Not understanding, but space. You lie down beneath the sky, grass beneath your shoulder blades, air across your skin. The earth feels warmer than it did hours ago. Or maybe it's just you, no longer guarding against the elements. You let the moment hold you. No resistance, no commentary. Just breath. Just being. Time, in this shape, is not linear. It is circular, like the moon. It spirals, it loops, it echoes. You think of childhood, staring at the moon from a bedroom window, making wishes you can't even remember now. You think of future. You, perhaps looking back at this very night, and in the overlap of those two versions of yourself, you feel present. More present than you've been in a long time. This is the lunar gift, not to accelerate your journey, but to pause it, so you can feel its weight, its sweetness, its shimmer. In the Andes, shamans speak of lunar time, a different rhythm of life, one that does not rush or divide, but listens. A world where things ripen when they are ready. Where decisions are felt, not forced. Where time bends to the spirit, not the other way around. You are in lunar time now. There is no next step, no schedule, no should. Only this breath, only this light, only this heartbeat. You hear it now. Not just yours, but the heartbeat of the night. The quiet hum of insects. The rustle of leaves. The distant ripple of water. All of it in rhythm with the moon's glow. A slow, sacred metronome. You wonder how many moments like this you've missed. Distracted, hurried, detached. And yet, here you are. Not late. Not broken. Not behind. Just finally present. You remember the Japanese word ma, the space between things. A silence that gives meaning to sound. An emptiness that gives shape to form. That's what this moonlit hour is, a sacred in-between. Not day, not night, not beginning, not end. Just the pulse of now. You sit up slowly, not because the moment is over, but because your body wants to move within it. Time hasn't stopped, it's just no longer chasing you. The moon, still low, still glowing, seems to smile. Not with her face, but with her stillness. As if she, too, recognizes that something rare is happening. Not transformation, but recognition. Of the rhythm beneath the rush. Of the breath behind the noise. Of the soul that waits patiently beneath your skin. You don't speak. You don't need to. Because tonight, the moon teaches you the most powerful lesson of all. That time isn't something to manage. It's something to merge with. Like moonlight merging with skin. Like the tide merging with shore. Like you, merging with the moment. You stare upward, but the moon no longer feels like it's above you. She feels within. She's passed beyond the horizon of observation. No longer an object in the sky, but a presence behind your eyes. A quiet companion moving through the corridors of your mind, and with her comes a question. Not loud, not demanding. Just soft, steady, persistent. What has the moon never said aloud, but always shown? You feel it, don't you? All night, she's been whispering things you couldn't quite hear, not because she was silent, but because the language of the moon isn't made of words. It's made of feeling, of glances, of breath. She doesn't shout her truths. She reflects them. You realize now that the moon has always spoken in mirrors, of emotion, of mood, of you. She doesn't invent the mystery. She reveals it. She doesn't create the ache. She holds it. And in doing so, she invites you to sit in the space between understanding and surrender. In ancient Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalah, the moon is associated with Shekinah, the divine feminine presence. A force that does not speak in thunder, but dwells in shadows. Shekinah does not appear with lightning. She arrives in the hush, the silence after the question, the breath before the answer. You feel that presence now. The moon doesn't need to explain why you're feeling what you're feeling. She simply allows it. You think of all the moments in your life when words failed, when no explanation was enough, when sorrow didn't need reason and joy arrived unannounced. The moon knows that language. She's been speaking it to you all along. Every time you looked up and felt something stir. Every time her light grazed your face and made you remember someone. Every time you couldn't name the feeling, but trusted it was real. She never said it aloud, but she's been telling you. You are allowed to feel deeply. You are allowed to be full and still be changing. You are allowed to be soft and still carry strength. You are allowed to not make sense and still belong to the sky. The world asks you for logic. The moon asks for truth. The world asks you to be useful. The moon asks you to be real. She has no demands, only a rhythm, only light that never stays the same, but always returns. You close your eyes, and her glow lingers on your eyelids. Not a spotlight. A memory. You realize suddenly that the moon has never said a single thing with certainty. Not even when she's full. Not even when she's dark. Because her wisdom doesn't lie in what she declares. It lies in what she holds. Tonight, she holds you. Not your identity. Not your ambitions. But the fragile, flickering self that lives underneath it all. The part of you that weeps in silence. The part of you that believes in wonder, even when life tries to crush it. The part of you that doesn't need answers, only witnessing. And so she watches. Not with judgment. Not with pity, but with the same quiet vow she's made every full moon since the beginning of time. I will rise again. So will you. You look up, and though her light is softening, her message is clearer than ever. You are not broken. You are becoming. And she will stay here, glowing in the silence, to remind you. Every time the world grows loud. Every time your heart grows dim. Every time you forget what it feels like to be whole. She will be here, saying nothing, but showing everything. The moon has climbed now, just slightly, resting in the upper arc of the sky. No longer low and ripe, no longer rising. She hovers, steady, still, as if holding her breath with you. You feel it. That quiet climax. That strange sense that something has ended. And yet nothing is over. And now comes the final unfolding. Not revelation, not explanation, but recognition. This is the moment the strawberry moon presses her light deepest into you. Not the skin, not the eyes, but the soul. She's no longer asking you to observe. She's asking you to remember who you are beneath the surface. Not the you who works, or achieves, or struggles, but the you who simply is, the lunar self, the cyclical self, the self who moves through phases, bright, dim, invisible, and yet remains whole in every form. You think back across the night, the shimmer at the horizon, the ancient rites, the dreams and doubts stirred in moonlit water, the shared silence across the globe, the soft breaking open of emotion under Scorpio's eye, The illusion of enormity, the planting of invisible seeds, the surrender of time, the whispered truths without language. You think of them all, but you no longer need to hold them, because they are in you now. The moon has written them into your rhythm. Every breath, every blink, every heartbeat shaped by her silver weight. In some cultures, this moment, the moon's peak, is not a point of celebration, but of letting go. Because after fullness comes the waning, the soft withdrawal, the inward turn, a gentle reminder that nothing stays full forever, nor should it. You sit quietly with this thought. There's no sadness in it, only peace. Because you finally understand. The moon's descent is not a loss. It is a return. To soil. To silence. To self. You realize now why the ancients revered her so deeply. Not because she controlled fate, but because she mirrored it. The moon has never promised permanence, only presence. And tonight, under her watch, you found yours again. You place your hand over your chest, feeling the slow, steady rhythm of your own tides. You are not the person you were at the beginning of this night. Not because something dramatic happened, but because something subtle softened. The walls, the weight, the noise. You. And in that softening, you opened. Not to the world, to the moon, to yourself. And now, in her final quiet gift, she gives you this. The sense that you carry her within you. Not metaphorically, but truly. Because your blood, your breath, your bones, they are tidal. They are ancient. They are lunar. You are not just a watcher of the moon. You are made of her, and so, with this final truth pressing gently against your ribs, you rise, not to leave her, but to carry her with you, in your gaze, in your pace, in the way you pause next time something aches, or shines, or beckons you to look up. This was never just about the moon. It was about remembering you. The moon beneath your skin, the moon behind your voice, the moon that waxes and wanes, and always returns. She is rising still, but you no longer need to follow her. Because now, she lives in your rhythm. And that is the real meaning of the strawberry moon. So you step back inside, or maybe you remain beneath the stars, but something has changed, not the sky. You. The moon is no longer an event. She is a presence, a rhythm, a soft tide that touched the edges of your spirit and left it trembling in the best way. You may not remember every detail of tonight, not every myth, not every symbol, not every whisper of ancient truth. But your soul will remember the way it felt to be part of something bigger, quieter, wiser. The strawberry moon will fade in the coming nights. Her glow will lessen, her curve will thin. But that doesn't mean the magic is over. It means it's becoming internal. This is how the lunar cycle teaches us to live. Observe, feel, reflect, release. You watched her rise. You listened. You let her show you the softest parts of yourself, not to fix, but to know. And now, as she begins her descent, so do you. Not downward, inward, toward the stillness she leaves behind. A stillness that isn't emptiness. It's a sacred echo. A hush that says, you were here. You witnessed the moon. And more importantly, you were witnessed. And that, in the great spinning dark, is enough. Until next moon, stay slow, stay open, stay lunar.